If you regress the last 40 years in Kenya, you realize that our GDP in terms of Kenya is actually affected negatively by manufacturing. That tukiendelea kukuza manufacturing in what we call manufacturing in Kenya, it affects our GDP the other way around. And I was able to dig deeper and I found that whatever we call manufacturing in Kenya is mostly packaging. I'm calling upon all of us in business, those who are in edible oils. We can only be manufacturing companies in edible oils, for example, if we are getting the raw materials from Kenya. I found out also that whatever we call manufacturing, number one, the biggest of it is actually edible oils. But the number two import in Kenya, number two import, ile kitu ambayo tunatumia dollars mingi sana kama Kenya, is actually the input in edible oils. Then how is it that a sector that is the number two importer in Kenya passes to be a manufacturing sector? That is what I'm calling all of us to think about. Then it shows even our definition of what we call manufacturing, we need to go deeper. Manufacturing should only make sense when we bridge all the value chains, so that if it's canola, we are getting it from Kenya. If it's sunflower, it is from Kenya. The inputs, the concentrates, so that when we say we have edible oils, it is actually clearly made in Kenya. The second thing we call manufacturing is assembly. We have, for example, automobiles companies in Kenya. But do they actually manufacture or they assemble? I'm just triggering our minds. And as we do that, whatever spare money we make, let us invest. And let us not just invest in the traditional way of investing. We can buy a plot, fine, but it's not necessarily you buy 10 plots. You can own a home, yes, but you have no obligation to own 20 pieces of land. We need to awaken all this capital that is stale in our villages, in our estates. That capital we go to dump in stale properties. We need that money to be in the real economy. The real economy like manufacturing, the real economy that employs people, the real economy that actually catapults Kenya and Africa forward. And very lastly, sisi tukiwa hapa na wauliza kwa heshima, Kenya has around the number 4 or number 3 largest securities exchange in Africa, or stock market. I read the other day that people are making money in the stock market in Kenya, but only 2,000 people have opened new accounts. The issue about capital flows, the US is the US because of capital flow is. And the other countries that are grown are there because there is mobility of capital. For Kenya to actually develop, we also have to make mobile capital, and therefore we have to participate in our own market. The shares that are sold in the market, do your analysis, let us start participating so that we can continue to consolidate our economy better. And as we do that, I call upon us to support education, all of us here. And I was speaking to the media out here as my very last comment. As an MP for Kiharu, I don't think it is right at the point where we need to be developing human capital that we add school fees in our day secondary schools. And I call upon the Ministry of Education, the circular they sent to our day secondary schools in Kenya, wanting to increase school fees in January, that a day scholar in Kenya will be paying 22,000 per year for school fees. I request them to receive that communication. Kenya should be thinking. Kenya should be thinking about bringing school fees down to have inclusivity in education. We should not be talking about increasing school fees or shifting capitation to the parent. The JSS interns also who have been interning, who are 20,000 in Kenya, interning in our JSS. I request the National Treasury, We can stop everything else the government is doing. We must confirm our brothers and sisters, 20,000 of them, into permanent and pensionable terms in January. By the time they are eating Christmas, wakuwa wamepewa barua, ndio tusoge mbele pamoja. Thank you very much. Congratulations. May God bless you.
Sinaomba tumpige. Mrembo ambaye ametoka stage tafadhali. Haya, makofi kwa yake akatenga muda ili kuja kuhakikisha kwamba tunasherekea siku ya leo kwa pamoja. Pia makofi mazuri kwake bwana. Tunaye Honorable Ken, Siaya County incoming woman representative. Ako wapi? Makofi kwake na representative. Lakini mambo iko tu sawa.
The speaker, our